Hi guys, welcome to the MEE-FIT Podcast. We are now on episode 13 and today I'm joined by Dan.
Hello.
We are going to discuss one of the most common barrier that we come across, that I don't have time to train barrier. And we do come across it a lot, don't we?
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
Straight in with a big question.
I know, right?
Yeah, I mean, we have this all the time. Like, obviously, for MEE-FIT at the moment, I'm predominantly involved in sort of getting new clients started, so speak to people who reach out to us. So it's definitely something that we hear all the time, and it's a massive barrier that people face is the thought process that they haven't got the time. I think we all lead such busy lives nowadays that it can seem an impossible task for someone who doesn't currently exercise and doesn't kind of prioritize their health and fitness and incorporate into their lifestyle. It can seem like a massive ask to think about starting that process. There's loads of reasons why. I think one of the big ones that I come across is the mindset of how much people feel they need to do to make a positive change. Like, people will think to themselves, if I can't do 3, 4, 5, 6 sessions, it's not worth it.
Yeah, they think it's a big mountain to climb in order to see any difference. So what's the point? Mm-hmm. But you mentioned two things there, busy and priority or prioritize. And I think everybody knows what it's like to be too busy.
Yeah.
So the time is always an issue, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's kind of like a natural thing for us to say, I'm just really busy.
Yeah.
Oh, how are you? Yeah, just really busy.
Yeah.
Oh, are you busy? Do you need to time, is there time management, or are there things that you could perhaps not do much, do less of?
Yeah.
Can you delegate in order to fit other things in? Yeah. I'm not just talking about fitness, but quality time. Like, sometimes when I'm super busy, I don't spend enough quality time with my friends and family because I'm busy. And I'm in that mindset. But actually, sometimes I'm like, God, why do I feel a little bit down? Like, what's going on? Oh, I haven't spent enough time with my friends and family or done the things that make me feel good. Yeah. And then it makes me rethink, like, okay, what do I need in my life to feel happy and healthy and all that sort of stuff? Yeah. Or what have you. And I'm like, right, well, I'm clearly spending too much time here. And I'm often like, so why am I spending too much time here? Why am I so busy? Is there anything I can do differently in order for me to do X, Y, Z, i.e. train? Or because that happens sometimes as well. I get so busy that I forget to train or program it in, or my mind's just busy. So I actually have to physically schedule in my training days and schedule in when I go to see my friends and family. So it is a time management thing, which I struggle with, and I need structure because I can get carried away with stuff. And I think that's probably the aspect of it. We get carried away with our everyday lives and don't really look to see where we could potentially change it in order to improve it. Because it comes with stress management as well, right? We come across that where a lot of people get super stressed or just dead busy, dead stressed, in our health scores, like, or what your stress levels. And until we come in with the stress management techniques, they don't really acknowledge how stressed they are and what they can change. So I think it comes from inviting them to look at things in a different way. And often I think you find that when you have that chat about joining, and one of the main barriers is like, oh, I don't have time. I think when you ask certain questions, they're like, oh, I never thought of it like that. Yeah. Actually, I could probably. What, is it only 1-2 sessions to start off with, or 2 sessions a week? Do you have an hour? Yeah, I probably do have an hour. Yeah. And it's almost a perspective thing as well, isn't
absolutely.
it?
I'm going to make a pretty bold statement here, but I don't think there's many people around really who couldn't fit in an hour of exercise a week, realistically. Like, if anyone ever listens to this who can prove me wrong, then do it. But for me, it's a mentality thing, I think, in terms of people who commit to their health and fitness, who prioritize it, who view it as a valuable part of their life. They will make the time, or they will find the time. Yeah. Whereas I think if you don't view it as that important, or you don't understand the benefits of it, or you don't see it as something that's as important for you right now as it could be or should be, in my view, then you're not going to find the time. I mean, I can think of an example myself this year. Back in January, me and Shan both said to ourselves, both kind of made resolutions that we would read more. Shan's done really well with it, and I haven't. And I think to myself, I could very easily blame lack of time.
Yeah.
But I know I have got the time. I've just chosen not to prioritise that time for the reading that I set myself to do. I've spent that time on my phone, or I've spent that time on emails, or I've spent that time watching shows or doing other things that are all exercising, or you know what I mean? Like different things have come higher in my personal list of priorities than that.
And there's two ways to look at that. As in, did you not care enough about it to have it to bump it up your priority list? Or because you've got a lot going on, did you need other tools to make it a priority, i.e. more of a focus, so you don't forget about it?
I think I probably didn't value it enough to really make it worthwhile. You know, so I'd love to do it. It's a nicety, you know. It'd be great, but I clearly don't care about it enough or value it.
It's not a necessity enough in order for you to do it, or it's just something that you've not really done. It is actually really important, because there's lots of things that I have that are important to me, but I don't do them. Because for me personally, I do have a lot of interests. And sometimes, even though there's lots of great things going on, I get overwhelmed. And if I don't write it down, or I don't structure it into my daily or weekly plan, I forget about it because there's so much else going on. So
it's we all do only have so much time though, don't we? And I don't want to go the whole classic like, oh, we all have the same 24 hours in the day. I've got a massively different perspective on that now than I used to since having children. Like, I remember, I mean, Marshall's he's 4 next year. So I've been a parent for 3.5 years. If I think back maybe 5 years, let's say 6 years, back in sort of 20, I don't know, maybe when I first opened the gym, 2016, 2017, that sort of time, 22, 23 years old, didn't have kids, didn't have a mortgage, business was like okay, but not where it is right now, you know.
So your list of things to do, prioritise, look after, responsibility
was so much lower. So at that time, we had so much more time to train. We did have more time. We had more energy to train. We had more, you know, less going on, less that needed our attention. So I think looking back, I don't think I quite understood didn't understand the challenges that some of our clients faced, or the wider population faced at that time. Now, fast forward that amount of time, 2 kids, 3rd on the way, you know, business, 5 staff to look after, and however many clients, you know, it's a different time. And I think that's helped me, be a better gym owner, personal trainer, whatever you want to call it, because it's put me in more of our clients' shoes in terms of those things. So
I think you've got a better perspective on in other people's shoes now.
And I understand the challenges that people face, but I do come back to that word priorities. You know, you've got to think to yourself, there's only so many hours in a day that I can spend. You know, you spend 6, 7, 8 hours of sleep, so they're gone. Then you've got your work. That 8 hours a day, that's gone. You know what I mean? Like you've only got so much time that you can dedicate to things outside of sleep, eating food, working, looking after your children, grandchildren, whatever it is. So in those available hours, that's where you think to yourself, what is the most important use of my time? And I could go to the gym. I could read a book. I could watch Netflix. I could go for a walk. You know, there's so many things you could do in that time. And I think the people who make the best changes with their health and fitness are the people who start to view that time as more important for themselves and their own health and fitness, rather than the other things that we've all got available to us that we could do.
I also want to add a little bit of colour to that, because it's not as black and white as how much time I have in the day and what do I prioritise. It's also to do with the capacity for you to do those things. So I might have the time, but if I've worked all day, looked after the kids for several hours, and I've got all these other things that I know I need to plan and do, like, I literally don't have the capacity, brain space, energy, whatever you want to call it, to do these extra things sometimes. So those need to be taken into consideration as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, I can agree with that.
So if the barrier is capacity, then you get... So, for instance, if it's for training, for gym work, I don't have the capacity to go to a gym and do a workout. is that capacity as in, I don't really know what I'm doing and I've got to think about what I've got to do. Yeah. So therefore, the workaround with that would be get a coach, get a plan, get a program. Now, obviously, you come here, and I've had a few guys, there's quite a few people, guys and women, but a few guys lately have said, I don't need to ask what I want to do. I just need you to tell me what to do. Yeah. I use my brain all day at work. Yeah. I just want to come in. This is what I love. And literally, this is what I love about MEE-FIT. Because I said, well, it's up to you. Do you want to go higher today? Like, how do you feel? He goes, he went, I just need you to tell me what to do. I was like, okay, well, you look strong. Let's go in. Or sometimes I've said, you obviously, if you're a bit tired, you told me you're a bit tired, maybe don't push as much today. Just work on your form, blah, blah, blah. So going back to the capacity, going to a gym like here, for instance, you don't have to think about what you're going to do. You just rock up, you do the hour session, and then you go, and that's it. You don't have to think about anything else. Like, you're set up for the day. Yeah. So I think we've got to understand other things around it.
And I think another thing on that again you have to consider is what else is going on around you. So me and Shan both prioritize our own health and fitness. We both value our own health and fitness. So we support each other in our ability to come to the gym, train, go for a run, whatever it is. That's another big barrier that kind of comes in with the lack of time. It might also be the lack of support. You know, if there's parents out there who would love to come to the gym, but their partner, maybe they haven't got a partner, so they're on their own with the kids, or they have got a partner, but their partner isn't supportive of their goals. And that's a barrier we come across quite a lot, where, you know, and sometimes I'm on a call with someone and I'm thinking, they said they got a partner or a husband or, you know, wife, whatever it might be, and thinking, could they not? But sometimes they don't want to, you know, like, I'll happily have the boys at home for an hour or 2 hours, 3, 4, 5 hours a week, whatever it is, for Shan to come to the gym, because I know that's important to her. I think it's important for her, you know, so we sort of work together on that. Whereas I think, you know, it's always a challenge when you've got one person within a relationship who does want to prioritize their own health and fitness and does want to look after that, and someone who maybe doesn't, because that then leads to conflict of time and, oh no, I'm not going to go to work that little bit later so you can go to the gym. You know, that's another issue that people can face. And I want to make sure people understand that. Like, I don't just think, I do feel everyone should prioritize their own health and fitness, but I also understand there's big barriers that some people face that make it harder for
so
them.
So that's another layer behind it. I don't have time. Or is it, I don't have the support to find the time?
Yeah, absolutely.
Or is it, I don't have the mental capacity right now to think about doing it? But that's also a problem.
The problem with that is that we see all the time here someone who starts, you know, they start prioritizing that time, or, you know, using that time for their own health and fitness, and the benefits are huge in terms of their energy, in terms of their mental clarity, in terms of their confidence, in terms of sleep quality. You know, all these things improve drastically when people make that step. So it's almost like you've got to make that step into that to then reap the benefits. But if people, I don't think a lot of people don't know how that feels.
Yes.
So the thought of it is hard to understand, because they're thinking, well, you know, I'm not going to get that straight away. I'm going to be spending 2 hours a week, 3 hours a week, whatever. I'm going to be spending money. I'm going to be spending time. I'm going to be spending energy, and I don't know what I'm going to get from it. Whereas once you're on the other side of that and you experience those improvements, it seems a lot easier. You know, we've got loads of clients here, and I can think of loads off the top of my head who viewed them as having that barrier themselves, but now they're past that and they've come to the other side of the energy and the sleep and all those other things. Suddenly that time is there, and they understand
it's
the
their
benefits
me time.
of it. Yeah.
There's quite a few mums who come in. They've created something in their life, they've made a change, and now they see fitness as their me time to decompress, to then regain the capacity, you know, to de-stress, and it's their me time. It's no longer something they have to do. It's something they want to do, they need to do in order to feel better. And I know that firsthand. Like, I do suffer from can suffer from low moods or low energy, and sometimes I'm like, what? I don't know what's going on. I'm like, I haven't trained for a few days, and all it takes is like a little jog or a little like coach's session on a Friday, or finding someone who I can train with, and then I'm like, what? I don't know why I love this. Like, why have I put this off for a few days? So it's easy to get overwhelmed by work. So the feeling that it's to chase that feeling is a good thing, I think, when it comes to health and fitness. And that feeling, a lot of people come to the gym because they want to improve their weight, their health issues. But then they quickly realise how good it makes them feel, and their goal of weight loss is still there, but it's not as important because that feeling is just so much better. And they never even contemplated how good they might feel. They've just gone because they need to lose weight and they've got some health issues and their blood pressure's too high and the doctor told them they need to lose weight, so I've got to go, I've got no choice. So it's always more of a demand, but they've got to do it. And now, like, oh my God, I actually feel brilliant. Like, yes, the results are getting better. I'm losing weight. My blood pressure's come down, like with Rob and that. But the energy, their mindset, and Rob was like, Rob Lamb, who you interviewed the other day, he was like, this is who I am now. Yeah. Like, I came in here to make some health improvements, but this is just, this, like, the feeling I get when I come here, it's just brilliant.
Yeah. I think we're all guilty of that, though. Even you and me, like people who are fitness enthusiasts, like we're all guilty of that. Like, the minute things get difficult, stress or whatever, like it's very easy to, you know, let your fitness, like I've done it in the past when things have been challenging, maybe with the boys or just work or whatever. Like,
and that's okay.
Yeah. It happens.
It's just when you get there and then you just forget it and drop off. You're like, no, you can come back to it.
Yeah, but that's when you need that support and that accountability around you, isn't it? To kind of enable you to work around those challenges. And you know what you said before about like people not wanting to think about it, like that's one of the big reasons that I either have a coach or kind of just work within our framework here, because the last thing I want to do is turn up at the gym and think, what am I doing today? Or what, you know, I don't want to have to sit and write my own program, you know, because I just think I've doing enough of that stuff for everyone else, you know what I mean? And that's why it's so important for me to have that structure.
So off the back of what you said, we've got a couple of recordings of some clients who we've been working with for a while who have changed their mindset and overcome that barrier of finding the time to train, maybe not necessarily making it a priority in the past, and now it's their thing. Now it just is who they are. So we're going to play a few clips and then we're going to chat about it after that.
So for me, I didn't have time. So I decided I needed to make time to be able to fit fitness into my life. So I'm naturally a very late evening person. So a proper vampire, I could stay up until 2:00 in the morning. Getting up is not an easy thing for me. So I had to train myself to get up at 5:00 every morning because that was the only time I could fit the fitness into my life. So 6:00 team it is now, but it took some time to get used to it.
Class.
Okay.
Big shout out to Dottie for that.
Yes, Dottie. I totally resonate with that. I always used to train after work or at lunchtime. I was lucky when I worked in London at a publishing company. We had a gym right underneath. And I was like, I'm just going to do a little 30-minute class before I got into proper weight training. But that was enough for me to do stuff. And then I started missing out on going out. Or I used to go to the gym after work. And then I started missing out going out with my friends and stuff because I was kind of young, still young and socialising and all that. And I was like, but I don't want to not train because it makes me feel good, and I had weight loss goals and fitness goals. So I ended up doing a couple of things and having to get used to, and it took me ages because I thought I was a night owl and I really struggled to get up in the morning. Just so happens I just struggled to get up in the morning because I was going to bed really late and probably faffing around for 2 hours and not really doing much. And then basically I had to train myself getting up early in the morning. Then I ended up going training in the morning before work, and that just set me up for the day.
Yeah.
The change in my mood and my energy and my get up and go was ridiculous. Yeah, so I resonate with that. You have to sometimes think, right, well, I'm a night owl, so I can't do that. Okay, cool, then you train in the evening. Or actually, I'm a morning person. Okay, cool, you can train in the morning. Or what do you think about Dotties?
I loved that because I think, you know, it would have been very easy for Dottie to just always think to herself, I haven't got the time. But, you know, if she's getting up at 5 a.m. to make the time. You know what I mean? That's the difference here is, you know, I think that, you know, we all talk about sleep. Sleep is important, right? Yes, of course, sleep is important. But I think it's more important for someone to miss an hour of sleep to train 2 or 3 times a week than it is to have that extra hour in bed. Like, I cannot see how that would be more beneficial than you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you're not currently exercising, an extra hour in bed is not as valuable as an hour in the gym.
Yeah.
Or an hour exercising in the front room, or, you know what I mean, going for a run or whatever. So
with a caveat of, you're not already running on 4 hours sleep. You know what I mean? For some people...
Yeah, but I would address other things before I lost the exercise. You know what I mean? Like, why are you only sleeping 4 hours a day? Like that.
It's a bit,
but
totally.
I think that's a really, really good one because, you know, Dottie's someone who's retrained herself to come in the morning when it's, you know, the only time that she can see, actually, I've got that time. I'll go in the morning, and, you know, if she's always been used to getting up slightly later because going to bed later, like, that's a big shift. But, you know, unfortunately, most gyms aren't open at sort of 9, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night unless you've got a 24-hour gym. Yeah. So your only alternative, if you want to find in a gym like ours, is come,
but you know what,
earlier.
Even then, like, obviously, like, if you're a shift worker, I can understand it. But if you're not a shift worker and you work like 9 till 5, and you're likely to work late, and then you're going to go to the gym, and especially if it's like cardio, you're going to be quite buzzed on the endorphins and whatnot, and then that's going to affect your sleep, and then it's not great for the circadian rhythm and all that sort of stuff. So, like, unless you're a shift worker, you're not best working like 10 o'clock at night and doing a gym session at 9 o'clock at night. You should be like winding down a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. But I think the message from me for that would be you've got to do what you can do to make it work. And regardless of what that is, yes, it would be better to do it earlier in the evening or earlier in the day or earlier in the morning. But if you can't do that, you've got to do what you've got to do. Do you know what I mean? But I think that's why that's so great from Dottie, because it just shows, you know, that's another... I don't ever say it to people because you never want to be too confrontational with people. Like, if someone gets in touch with us, like, and they say that, you're not going to start saying, yes, you have got the time. You know what I mean? Like, you've got to be...
Oh, God, no.
You've got to be understanding and stuff of people. But
when does anyone respond to being told what to do?
Yeah.
Unless you're in
the
army.
You've got to be very, very careful with it. But I sometimes have felt like saying, you know, what time do you get out of bed in the morning?
Yeah.
You know, because, like, if that's the only time, like Shan, for example, like Shan comes 6 a.m, she's always trained. So I hate using us as an example because we are people who've always been into fitness. So we're very used to it. It's not a challenge for us, but it would be very easy for her to think, I haven't got the time, I've got the 2 kids, pregnant at the moment. Like, but the time that she has, where she can actually, we talked about capacity earlier, like, deal with the thought of training is early in the morning. So she gets out of bed 5 o'clock, like Dottie does, 5:15, whatever, gets to the gym for 6, ticks that box, it's done for the day, and then I can worry about the rest of the day as it comes. And I think a lot of clients here are the same. Some prefer to do in the evenings, you know, after their day of work.
I used to do after work, and I'd have to go straight after work. Because if I went from work to home to get my gym kit and then go to gym, I'd be like...
Hard, really hard.
Especially in the winter, especially if it's raining. You're like, well, I'm at home now, it's so cosy. I'm a bit hungry.
Fires on,
I can't go to the gym, I'm hungry. So, But I sometimes do that the weekend. I honestly, like, if I don't get it done and dusted, either after work or before work, then all these other things where your battery is drained, your capacity is drained by all the other things, lunch, breakfast, kids, work, learning, training, all the other things in your life, it just gets in your way.
You've got to make it as easy for yourself as possible. And I can think of a few times when I spoke to people, not necessarily recently, but over the years, who you're kind of thinking that you can tell they're trying to think, how can I make this work? And then, we'll have to go to work and then go home and then get back to the gym, thinking, just put your gym kit in the car. Come straight. It's like, I can't understand it. I'm like,
but you've got to understand, like, if it's not natural to them, like it is to you and I.
Yeah, absolutely.
Then sometimes you really do have to really simplify things in order for them to see how.
Yeah.
And that's it. We just got to, like, well, it's really obvious to me.
Yeah.
But, like, things that we know, well, it's really obvious to me. Like macros, it's really obvious. But some people haven't got a Scooby what macros are.
Yeah.
Oh, right, okay, you've got to almost figure out, what is your thought process? What is your knowledge? What works for you? What doesn't? And then, like, okay, well, let me help you find that time.
And that's what it is. It's about trying to help people remove those barriers or understand how those barriers can be altered to enable
understand
them to...
it.
Yeah, of course. You've got to be understanding, but you've also got to sometimes be honest with people, because I think if you're too understanding and you don't challenge people's mindset, people aren't going to change.
It's such a delicate area, isn't it? You have to, as coaches, to help people understand why health and fitness is really important to them, for them.
Yeah.
Like, we're here to help you. It's for you. It's for your benefit.
Yeah.
But we have to be honest, but gentle.
Yeah, absolutely. It's finding the balance, isn't it? Like, we can't just be too frank with people, because it would offend people and people wouldn't deal with that very well, potentially. Some people do. Some people like straight and narrow talk and just tell me as it is.
But that's what makes you, as a good coach, manager, us as good coaches, like to understand how that person works in order to be able to talk to them. That's just like good
which is quite hard when it's people who you don't know yet and you've not built a relationship with, like people who inquire. Like, you've got to tread very carefully and try and figure out what type of approach is best here. Like, do I try and call you out on that a little bit, or is that going to push you away from, and you have to take a risk sometimes. And like, I've done that in the past with people where they say, I'm too busy at work. And you're like, look, I'm going to be honest with you here. Like, if you're busy at work now, when are you not going to be busy? Like, I think that's one thing we've maybe not discussed yet, is like, if it's a work related busyness or business related busyness, like, it's unlikely that's going to change.
Like, unless you're working 24 hours, I understand that people work away, because we've got a few members here who work away, and they either find a hotel where they have to work away with work that's got a gym. They never used to, but now they do. Because they don't want to miss their sessions, so they can use our app and they can follow the program at home or in the gym, or they'll make sure they found time to do something else, because it's part of who they are. But because they're away, but they're not working 24/7.
And their work hasn't. I know who you're probably referring to, and like, they're no less busy now, but they've just, thinking about that, like, maybe previously they booked a hotel and whether it had a gym or not, they didn't care, because they weren't in that headspace. You know what I mean? Whereas now they are. Like, nothing's changed. It's just actually now, okay, when I'm booking my hotel, I'm going to make sure there's a gym, or I'm going to take a resistance band with me to do a hotel workout, or you know what I mean? Like, whatever it needs to be.
Something has changed, their perspectives changed, and they've swapped what they've been doing. So before, if they're at a hotel, they've literally told me, one of the guys, they used to get a microwave meal, go home, get a microwave meal in the hotel or wherever they were staying. And that was that for them. There's no one around, there's no family or friends, so they would just watch TV and eat a microwave meal, and okay, that's a few hours wasted, right, best go to bed now. But now they're like, right, well, I walked to the supermarket to get some healthy food, and I came back, and yes, it was, sometimes they have limitations on their kitchen or whatever, kitchenette. So they'll do what they can, but they've gone for that healthier food as best they can, because they meet themselves halfway and get whatever they can. And they've walked to the gym, and they've also they know that they're finishing this meeting at this time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the gym, then I'm going to walk to the shop to get some healthy food. And by the time they get home, there's a couple of hours, and then they've just changed a few things directional. They've swapped something else. Like, they did have that time, they just didn't realise that if someone was to monitor their daily activity, their hourly activity, right? Because I have to do that sometimes. Like, where am I wasting time in? I'm like, oh, I probably could, if I program things in, then I'm less likely to waste time and be more productive. Sometimes I have to schedule in downtime because I don't have enough downtime. But if you actually did it one day maybe of how you spent that day, you're trying to tell me you couldn't potentially, or that week. Yeah,
for a full week.
Yeah. Half an hour. Just start with half an hour. Start with 20 minutes.
Yeah, no, and that's going back to what we said before. I think I view it as it's a mindset thing. I come across this all the time, people who inquire and, then it turns out they're too busy. And I think to myself, like, we work with some really busy people here. Business owners, parents, high position employees, whatever it is, like people who are very busy, but they manage to make the time because it's important to them and they value it and they put it into their diary, and I've seen an example of a client before who's done that. You can see their diary diarised out for the entire week, and you look on our Team Up app and you can see their sessions are booked now for the next 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks, because it's important. I've got to get that in. I've got to put that in my diary. Then I can't book any meetings in it, or I can't book any, I can't book on top of it. And I think the busier you are, the more important it is to be organised with that. And
so organisation then is the other sort of
because if you look at your week without that, you can think, oh my God, where am I going to put it in? But like, if you, in weeks in advance, if you've put it in and that's my time, and that's why we've got so many clients here who they come at 6 a.m. or they come at 7 a.m. or they come at 10 a.m. or they come at 5 p.m. because it just works for them to have that as their allotted slot where other things are less likely to get in the way. But life will always happen. Do you know what I mean? Life, and that's another thing that I think people who are not yet in the mindset of, I need to prioritize my health and fitness, or I maybe can't, they don't understand, is like, it's never going to be a perfect opportunity. And that's one of the biggest bugbears I have, when people, they wait, they wait for the right time, or they wait for a period of time, whether it's 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 12 weeks, whatever, where they can start. I can start now. And I'm like, don't do that. Please don't do that. If you want to make a change, do it now. Get used to it in the situation that you're in right now, and then just deal with what happens later when it comes. Because we see that all the time, right? And two things happen. If the mindset someone has is, I'm going to wait until it's the right time, whether that's work related, kids related, whatever, and we wait for the right time, one of two things will happen. Number one, they'll wait forever, because it'll never happen. Because when a kid's not busy, when is work not busy, when is business not busy, when is life not busy? I mean, where are we now? October, it'll be Christmas soon.
Wait, don't.
Honestly, it'll be December, won't it? And then it'll be, it's Christmas, I'll wait till the new year. And then the new year comes, I'm a bit busy in January actually, dealing with Christmas, getting over Christmas. Before you know it's February. And you think, still a bit dark, I'll wait till March. March comes, Easter, all that chocolate. People will wait forever. That's one thing that'll happen. And I know there's people who've reached out to us before, who are on our email list, or they like our posts and stuff, who, I'm talking to you because I know that that's the situation you're in. Or secondly,
it's coming from a good place. It's
coming from a really good place. I'd love you to make that change. The second thing that will potentially happen, and we've seen this happen quite a lot, is someone will wait and they'll have this window where they're like, I've got nothing on for 4 weeks. I've got no travel with work, or my kids are not doing anything, or whatever. So they'll make a start. This is great. I'm doing really well. Doing 3 sessions a week, really enjoying it. And then 3 or 4 weeks later, oh God, I've got a work trip, or I've got this, or I've got that. And it all just goes to pot, because they only know how to kind of do fitness, if you like, or incorporate fitness when everything is favourable for them. Do you know what I mean? And everything's working time-wise, work-wise, whatever. And so whenever life then inevitably gets busier again, they stop, because they don't know how to incorporate. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, so they've literally just waited for a little gap.
They've had that gap, and then it's then what do I do?
Yeah.
So that's why I always say to people, just make the start now. You're never going to, they say about having a child, the right time never comes. And I think it's true. You can always have more money, or a bigger house, or a better car, or you can always have other things that can, that never ends. But you eventually just got to think, do you know what? We just got to do it. You know?
As an overthinker myself, who takes longer than I would like to take some action because I overthink it, what would you say to those people who overthink it? That's a barrier in itself, isn't it? Unless you understand who you are.
Yeah.
That's also a barrier. Is it that you don't have time, or is it actually you've got a barrier because you're overthinking it and waiting for the right time?
Well, I mean, I'd go back to the clip that we shared the other day from Nikki about that, which I thought was excellent, which maybe Cal could slot in here on the podcast.
I've been sort of in that sort of cycle of change, where you're sort of thinking about it a lot and umming and ahhing and talking yourself into something, then talking yourself out of something. And like I said, I used to be a psychotherapist, so I would always say to people, you have to challenge your comfort zone. You've just got to go and do it. Try not to overthink it. Because if you overthink it, you can talk yourself out of anything.
Perfect. She mentioned about how you can always think yourself out of something. You can always talk yourself out of something.
Yeah.
But change only happens when something changes, and you've got to make that change. Like, change isn't, you're not suddenly going to wake up one day with the body that you want, with the energy levels that you want, with the confidence that you want, with the weight loss, whatever it is. Like, you've got to make that change, and you've got to put yourself outside of your comfort zone. And that's what I think is so difficult for so many people. Is it's, exercise is unfamiliar. They don't know what they're doing. They don't want to look silly. We go back to all those things that we talk about. So
it's the uncertainty of then, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, I'll wait for the right time because I'm out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
It's just finding a way of helping those people.
Sometimes it's that, or sometimes it is the actual time issue.
Yeah.
It can, maybe sometimes people use the lack of time as a cover for a deeper rooted
that was my point.
Anxiety around getting started, and it might just be an easy way for me to think, actually, I'm not ready for that yet, without having to go into the. You always get it going deeper, don't you? Down into the psyche of people.
Because I struggle with it myself.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I overthink things. I put things off. Too many things off for too long. Now's not the right time. I'm trying. I didn't go travelling like all my other uni mates, right? I'm not going to go too deep because it might make me cry. You know how easy it is for me to get upset about things, good and bad. Anyway, right, I didn't go travelling because I was like, oh no, I've got a good job. I don't want to. I'm chasing the career ladder. I'm climbing my career ladder. I'm not going to go travel. I'll go next year. In fact, I'll go next year or in a couple of years when I've got to a certain level and I've earned enough money, and then I'll go. And then that 2 years came, and I was like, oh, I met somebody, and then. That 2 years, another 2 years, and then, I've got a new job now, and I've got that level, I can't really leave now. My point is, with the travel, we can overthink things and talk about things, but not do the things. And I listened to the beginning of this podcast, I'm probably going to butcher it now, and he said something about, sometimes when you go to a counsellor and you talk about things, then you've kind of like, you feel better because you've got it off your chest, but you've not actually made any action about it.
Yeah.
So, we've got to not only talk the talk, we've got to walk the walk. I know that's really cheesy to say.
No.
But I do think, I know you're fearful, but do it anyway. I know you're out of your comfort zone, but do it anyway. Do you know what I mean? Like,
often
there's that sort of...
Often the benefits that people want and the outcomes people are looking for are on the other side of the things that are scary to them.
Yeah.
And if you want it enough, you've just got to make that jump and make that step, else it's never going to happen.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I feel like I really feel like here we provide that comfort and that comfort zone and that support for people, whether they're scared or not, and the knowledge.
Yeah.
And I just feel like if we could somehow get that message across to people.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's a big
I feel like people would take more action.
Yeah.
Like, I know you're out of your comfort zone coming to a gym and you don't know what the hell you're doing, but don't worry about it. We've got you.
Yeah.
We've got everything planned out for you. We do an induction. We look after you. We can make changes where we need to. We've got your back. We will look after you. Don't worry about that. If you're scared about it, don't worry about that. We've got your back. With the time thing, if that was the actual undercurrent of the time, then we've got your back.
Yeah.
If you really don't feel like you've got the time, then here's an action for you. Look at your weekly schedule.
Yeah.
Look at your daily schedule. And literally, I see one of the books that we've read. Is it like Atomic Habits or something else, where you literally write down what you do in that day?
Well, it's kind of a bit like
what's important and what's taking up your time that isn't that important, and what's not taking up enough of your time that is important, and vice versa.
Yeah.
And if it might be a little bit long-winded, but I challenge you, I put it to you out there, whoever's listening, who thinks they don't have enough time, just look at your schedule for the day, maybe, and expand it for the week. But start with the day if that's too much trouble, because I know you're busy and you don't have much time, but just start with the day. But if you do have a bit of time, just set aside 10 minutes and set out the week and write down everything you've done.
Yeah.
Like Atomic Habits, I think it is, where you go real deep into it, like every freaking minute of the day or whatever, but it's a bit too much. But like, write down how much time you spend on what in that day.
Yeah.
From getting up, having a shower, getting dressed, cooking the dinner, did you sit down and read? And then you go through it and figure out what's important. Could you potentially not watch 2 hours of Netflix or 3 hours binging?
Yeah.
And maybe, and that's a really easy example.
Yeah, of course. And we all, as fitness professionals, we all use that as a, oh, you know, how much time do you spend watching Netflix and stuff? But I think we've got to remember it's important to have that time. It's important to have that time to de-stress, to switch off, to have, you know, I wouldn't sit here and say me and Shan don't watch Netflix, because we do.
Yeah,
we watch things in the evening. No, absolutely not. But I feel like you've got to earn that right, kind of. You know, in my view, like you've got to.
Well, that's the habit stacking thing, isn't it?
You've got to.
Like,
you've got to
before
think.
I do this,
that.
I will do this first, which I don't what I normally do, and then I will do what I want to do.
Yeah.
So, like, if I want to watch, like, let's just use Netflix or whatever as an easy thing. If before I watch an hour of Netflix, I will first do half an hour workout.
Yeah.
Then I'll eat my dinner while I watch Netflix.
But it's
you know, if you want to incorporate something onto something that you already do.
Yeah. I've seen people using the example as well of, you know, you can go on your phones, whether you've got iPhone or Android, and look at like your screen time, you know, and like that would shine a light in people. Like if you know, so there's two things you can do. Number one, you hourly week tracker, and I don't think a week is too much of an ass.
No.
You know, because like I think some people, what are you doing at like 4:00 on a Sunday afternoon?
Yeah.
Are you really that busy at that time that you couldn't? You know, and some people might be, you've got 3, 4, 5 kids to deal with and stuff, fair enough, but there'll be other windows of opportunity for you. You know, I'm just using that as an example, but like do that, you know, start on a Monday, you know, set 6 a.m. What am I doing between 6 and 7 a.m., 7 and 8 a.m.? You know, and so, like we said before, some of it we sleep, some of it we work, some of it we all those things. And then it's kind of like the same as when we ask people to do like a calorie track, isn't it? Like sometimes you've got to shine a light on something openly and honestly with yourself to then understand where that time or those extra calories are coming in, if we're using that example. But thinking of that, because I can see Callum's itching to press that button, we've got an example of a client who, I know what I want to say about this client, because we'll let her talk. We've got a little clip from Charlotte. Should we listen to that next?
Yeah.
Little short and snappy one from Charlotte. But the reason I thought that was so
How
important.
busy is Charlotte though?
Exactly. So anyone who doesn't know Charlotte, she's got 3 kids. She's got a partner who's also got kids. And he lives a little bit further afield. She's
got her own business.
She's got a photography business.
And
she trains incredibly hard. She competes in high rocks. She's absolutely incredible athlete.
A machine.
Absolute goals for everyone here. But like the thing I wanted to say about Charlotte, and like we here at MEE-FIT, we use the MyZone heart rate monitoring system, and you know, members and clients will wear it when they're exercising. I've seen Charlotte doing workouts at like 9:30 at night. You know what I mean? Like after a busy day, she's been at a wedding all day. She's a photographer, so she's been at a wedding. She's been shooting all day. She's been on her feet. But it's important to her, and she gets it done at 9:30.
Yeah.
And sometimes even I'm looking, I think, bloody hell, Charlotte, just go to bed.
Yeah.
But
are you okay? She's like, and then she's back in the next day, like, I'm really tired. I'm like, mate, have you been to bed? Have you just stopped over?
Do you
want a key?
We all love it because she's so dedicated.
Yeah.
And it would be so easy for her to think, I haven't got the time. Because, she runs a business, she's got the children. But
that is the extreme, right?
Yeah,
as well.
of course.
Like, Charles getting really good at high rocks, right?
Yeah.
So, and that's really important to her, and I'm going to say it's one of her priorities. She's got a lot of priorities.
Yeah.
So we are probably demonstrating the extremes of it, and I don't know how she does it. I literally don't know how she does it sometimes.
I don't.
It's amazing.
She's more dedicated to her fitness than I am to mine.
She's got, it's dedication.
Yeah.
She knows what her goals are, and she's has to be really good at time management, and sometimes she's freaking tired, and then she knows when to pull back, because she schedules in her rest days. I actually think I probably need another chat with Charlotte, like, how do you do this? Literally show me your day, and then we'll like show it to everybody.
I mean,
like, that's how you're going to learn though, right? And I think that's just a little tangent. Where if you do get to a gym like this, you know how we talk about camaraderie and being around your troop, you'll find other little things by, not just the coaches, but like, oh, it's okay because, I don't have time to do this, but I do it here on this day, and then I do another class afterwards, and then I go and do my shopping, or then I go for coffee with my friend, and you're like, oh yeah. Why didn't I think about that? Do you know what I mean? So you get ideas from when you're around the right people as well.
Yeah.
But with Charlotte, like we're going to the extreme, and we're not asking you to like fit 4 hours of training in a day and train at 9:00 at night. But like, it's definitely doable to find just half an hour or an hour in 1 or 2 of your days in that week to do some good training.
Yeah.
So you could do, it's, you know that saying, don't always work harder, work smarter.
Yeah.
That was a game changer for me. Like, I'm short on time, so I'm going to be really smart with what I'm going to do training wise or whatever it is. You know, cut out the bits in the middle, like automation, i.e. booking your gym thing and get structure. But like, just be more smart with it.
Yeah, but I think going back to what we said before about that, like, you know, yes, we're using Charlotte there, who's an incredible athlete. She really, you know, really looks after her health and fitness, prioritises that massively, competes. She's a fantastic athlete, and it's obviously a really important thing to her. And has
a full-time job.
Yeah.
And is a mum.
Yeah, and we're using her there as an example of how it is possible. Yes, of course, a lot of people are never going to do as much as Charlotte does because, you know, they're not that way inclined. You know, she's a competitive athlete, you know, whereas most of our clients are not that way inclined. I think it's important, touching on what we mentioned briefly before, but like, you don't need to do that much to make those changes. Like, most people who I suppose we're generally working with and clients who get started with us, you know, they're generally people who are going from doing nothing from a fitness perspective. Like, even if you get to doing 2 30-minute workouts a week, like, that is a massive increase. Like, a lot of clients here will get started with 2. And even more than that, there's a lot of emerging research now on like exercise snacks.
Oh my God, yeah.
And if people haven't heard of that, basically what that is like doing like 30 seconds of high intensity activity, you know, spread throughout the day. Yeah. That can be, you know, has shown to be beneficial. And I think it's that classic saying of something is always better than nothing.
Yeah.
And if you can't envisage, you know, fitting in even 2 hours of the gym a week, if you can't envisage getting out of the house, driving to a gym or walking to a gym, doing 2 hours of workouts and going home, that whole thought process is just completely not doable. Run up and down stairs for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Twice a day, 3 times a day. You know, like,
start small.
It will make a massive difference to your health, to your fitness, to your overall well-being.
Because no one can say, I don't have 2 minutes to do
sprint on the spot. Or like do plank or
because how long does it take to boil the kettle?
Yeah.
Do you know, things like that. Like, it takes 3 to 4 minutes to boil an egg.
Yeah.
I challenge you to do 10 squats, 10 sit-ups, or just run on the spot for those 4 minutes. Crack on, AMRAP, 10 minutes.
Yeah, which again is easy for us to say. We
We
know what all those things are. We know what those exercises are. But I think the point I suppose we're both trying to make is like, you don't have to do that much to have a beneficial effect. Like, the minimum effective dose, like, do as little as you possibly can to make the changes that you want to make.
Yeah.
And I truly think that if you set your mind to it, as like Charlotte said, like, you can make that time, and it could be as simple as 20 minutes spread throughout the day of doing exercises at home on your own, you know, because there's other things that factor into this whole decision around like budget. You know, yes, coming to a gym like ours is brilliant, but it needs a certain amount of disposable income to be able to do that. Other people might need a more generic gym membership where they're not going to get the support, they're not going to get the guidance, but you know, there's YouTube videos you can follow.
There's trade-offs though, right?
There's always things that you can find that can help you with that.
So I know that some people financially, they have a budget or a budget in mind, and maybe they don't see the value of paying a certain amount. So the next step would be to follow an online program where you don't have a PT at all. If you're self-motivated and you know what you're doing in the gym, then crack on, great. But if that's not working for you, but you still have these goals, so the trade-off is getting the support that you need. So you might have to pay a little bit more money for that and understand the value of that. Or if you don't need that support and accountability, then you go for a cheaper option.
Yeah.
But, you know, make sure you're smart about it and think of it as an investment into your health and fitness and this future life, and figure out why you want to do it.
Yeah. I think a big thing for me here though is like, a lot of this comes down to how much value people place on looking after their health and fitness. Like, there's so many people out there who they just don't really care. Do you know what I mean? And like, if that's you, then
fine.
There's not really much we can say. You know what I mean? Like, we all know how important it is to eat healthy. We all know how important it is to exercise. Like, we should all be fully aware of that. But some people, for whatever reason, decide to act upon that and view it as an important part of their life and their future proofing, and other people don't. And that's sort of fine. But I suppose if you know that you want to look after yourself in the best way you can, and you do struggle with time, then that's when you've got to think of what are the ways that I can incorporate this into my lifestyle to make it something that I can do regularly.
I feel like our message today with this podcast is it time that's an issue, or are there other things as an undercurrent to that?
Yeah.
And think about that, and then maybe have a chat with somebody or you or whoever.
Yeah.
To help you figure out what it might actually be. And if you figure that out, then how do you go about that then? Is it that you're getting that lack of support? Do you need that support off your partner, or can you just crack on anyway? Do you need that support for motivation? Then, reach out to us or similar, PT, what have you. And if it genuinely is, you think is time management, then do what we said, like have a look. Track your day, track your week, and figure out, are there times here that I could delegate elsewhere? Can I fit in time there and spend less time doing that? And, figure it out that way.
And don't leave it until it's not too late. It's never too late. But
it's never too late, but please don't put things off, because for most things, there's never the right time, but there's always the right time to start health and fitness.
Yeah.
And even so, as a preventative, like we do have people, like the fear factor, something's gone wrong with them or their partner.
Exactly what I was just about to say.
They've got really ill and they're like, they've got really bad, like something's not right. They've got blood tests and like, shit, my blood pressure's high. I'm borderline heart attack here. Or, the blood marker of HbA1c, diabetes.
Yeah.
How did I remember that and not diabetes? Anyway, but it's really, they're pre-diabetical, they're in there now, and the doc's like, we need to put you in metformin or what have you. And they're like, I don't want to go on a medication.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you got to do diet and lifestyle changes. Like, right, shit. But, it's a lot better to not get there in the first place.
Yeah,
don't think you're not going to get there if you don't do anything about it. That's the sort of, not ignorance, but it'll never happen to me sort of syndrome.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, it's a shame that people get to that stage to then start.
Yeah.
But it's great that they do start.
Yeah. But if that's the catalyst for you to start, then something bad's happened, whether that's to you or a loved one. We get that all the time. They finally reach out, or they finally think about doing something for themselves because something bad has happened, either to them or a loved one. I can think of an example of someone who, literally their best friend, who was a similar age, actually in better health than them, had a heart attack. And then they're like, oh my God, if that's happened to him, what's going to happen to me? And it's taken quite a big event in a negative way for someone to make that change. And our message, I suppose, is always just start before that. Don't wait for a loved one to have something bad happen to them to give you that focus. In our lives, I suppose all of us should be thinking to ourselves, in my view, I want to live for as long as I can, but I want to live as well as I can. And what can I do to help me do that? And health and fitness and healthy nutrition and lifestyle is the only tool that we've got in our arsenal to really help with that. And it's important to look after it and make the time. Like what Charlotte said, the time isn't going to fall in your lap.
Yeah.
You've got to, if you're looking at your week and thinking, I don't know where I can fit it in, you've got to find it. You can't just wait for it to magically appear.
And if you can't do it on your own, just get some help.
Yeah.
I've asked my mates for support. If you can't do it on your own, find somebody else to help you figure it out for you. For the help, for the support, to help with actually I have to look after the kids at this time. Is there anybody else that could help? Maybe, I don't know. Ask for the help because you're worth it.
Yeah.
You are worthy of that help and support.
Yeah.
And that's another thing, isn't it? Oh, am I worthy and stuff. It's all boils down to, am I worthy? Finding your why, the reason why you want to do it. There's always a good time to start.
The best time to start was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But then the next best time's right now.
Nah.
Do you know what I mean? Don't think, oh, I've not done it yet. I can't. I need to wait. People you'll wait forever. That's my honest opinion. People will just wait forever.
Yeah.
And one thing that we see quite a lot, people will think, oh, I'll wait till I retire. We work with a lot of clients who are in their sort of 50s, 60s, 70s. But then even then, I can think of a few clients who've retired, and then even then they don't think they've got the time because they fill it with other things. You know what I mean? And that's again what we talked about before. It comes down to priorities and value. You know, how much value do you place upon this? Because no matter what's going on in your life, you can always find other things to do instead of gym, fitness, running, whatever it is. You know, so you've just got to find something that works for you as well in order to want to prioritize it. You got cramp? Yeah, I just got really bad cramp. Right, I think we should finish up there. I think we're going to get
what would be your main message then?
My main message about this would be, if you are someone who feels I haven't got the time, be open and honest with yourself. I think, touching on what you said before, get a weekly diary in front of you and do it for the last week or the week upcoming, and literally write down hour by hour, what are you doing in that time? And then sit and look at it and think to yourself, where can I find 2 hours, 3 hours to look after myself, ideally? And if you haven't got 3 hours, 2 hours. If you haven't got 2 hours, 1 hour. If you haven't got 1 hour, 30 minutes. Whatever it is that you can find, if you put that in your calendar as me time and do something positive. Whether it's coming to a gym like ours, whether it's going to a normal gym, whether it's going for a walk, whether it's jumping around in your front room, watching a YouTube video, whatever you can do based on your availability of time, energy, financial resources, like do something within that time that benefits your health and fitness. And I think everyone would be in a much better place for that. Yeah. That is my main thoughts.
And then don't think you have to be really freaking good at doing it. Just start.
Yeah, do something.
Like, you know, we say perfection does not exist, but progress does. You have to start from somewhere. Like, we've all started from somewhere, and you're only going to get better by starting.
Yeah.
And if you don't start, you're never going to get better. You're just going to get worse, if anything. You're going to go backwards. So, just step out of your comfort zone for 30 minutes or an hour when you go to the gym and just watch the magic happen, really, right?
Yeah,
like, if you just start, I'm going to take my own advice, like some other stuff, right? Just start and then see where it takes you. Yeah. If you don't like it, change course, change direction, do something else. The gym might not be the thing that you like. Yeah. Running, cycling, swimming, yoga, Pilates, there is so much out there, badminton, there's loads.
Yeah.
Right?
Do something that elevates your heart rate, gets you moving.
Yeah. Like, obviously, strength training is really freaking good.
Yeah.
So if you can strength train twice a week for 30 minutes or an hour for support or on an online plan or what have you, you've just got to start and try it. Don't like it, change it. But try it. You can't not try it for the fear of not being good enough.
Yeah.
And that's probably another thing that gets in people's way. So just take a little step out of your comfort zone and see where it takes you.
Yeah, and don't wait.
Don't wait. Okay, guys, so that was a long-winded, another good, slightly deep chat with me and Dan for episode 13. Thank you for listening, and hopefully you can join us for the next podcast and you enjoyed it.